Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I am your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn how to overcome adversity, depict fact versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. Today, we have a very exciting episode. We actually have two people on because we're going to have a panel all about fitness. What is more exciting than that? I can't think of anything. But before we get started, I'm going to introduce who we got on here. So, Lewis, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little about yourself. Go for it, buddy.
All right. Well, thank you for inviting me to the podcast, Anthony. So my name is Luis Velasquez. I am the owner of Build and Root Strength, which is a company for personal training, physical personal training. I am a NASM certified personal trainer, and I am hopefully in the next week becoming a corrective exercise specialist through NASM as well. I do specialize in helping all kinds of population, especially post-injury recovery or seniors, which require sometimes special kind of consideration and training. I work in rec centers owned by the Fairfax County in Virginia. So it's a network of 9 rec centers within drive-in distance, and that's normally what I do. And now I'm moving into online coaching with some of my my previous clients that wants to take a shot. So that's what I do.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And now we're going to move on to our second guest. Lilia, tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Lilia Drew. I live in Jupiter, Florida, thankfully, especially during this quarantine. My certifications are NASM or NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine, and certified personal trainer. And I also have my corrective exercise. Through ACE, American College of Exercise, I have metabolic training. Through the Titleist Performance Institute, I have level 1 golf specialist. And from California University of Pennsylvania, I have my master's in exercise science with a focus in rehab. I mainly work out of a country club in their fitness center. It's very seasonal. We're very busy about 6-7 months out of the year. I work with tennis players, golfers, general fitness. Average age is actually 70s, but it really ranges from like 50s to my oldest is 92.
Absolutely love that. And smallest world, just to make a general announcement, it turns out that my aunt is her close friend. What are the odds of that? We met over a fitness group we started, so hysterical. And Vicky, I hope you're listening to this. Love you. All right, guys. So obviously today is going to be all about the big COVID, COVID-19, everything coming out of this. We're going to go and ask some questions. I reached out to the community, got community questions. I got my own stuff I want to target, but let's break it down. So we're going to start with the future of big box gyms. Big box gyms meaning your LA Fitness, World Gym, Planet Fitness, those big places. And I just want to see what you guys think. It's going to come from those, how they're going to respond, and we'll break it down into there. So who wants to start this one off? Go for it.
I think it's going to be a learning experience for all types of gyms and fitness centers. I think they have a little bit more to play with. A lot of their income comes from from memberships of people that don't go. So that for their income, I think is beneficial to a certain extent, because now that, people aren't working, they may cancel those memberships. So it'll be interesting to see what that income, if they'll still have that income. I really think they have to abide by what the law says. If you're only allowed 10 people at a time, you can only have 10 people at a time. It may have to go into, signing in. You buy a membership that is only available 8 to noon. So you can only go in 8 to noon, or you can only buy a membership that is 5 to 10, things like that. I think the exercise classes are going to be key, maybe opening up more, because then you're only putting maybe 5 people in a room and you can separate them. You sign them up, and it takes away from people on the workout floor that are just wandering around, talking around. And also, I think equipment, we're using those gyms are used to getting a new equipment and not getting rid of the old equipment because somebody likes it. And I think it's going to have to come down to the most functional pieces of equipment and really separate them. And, you know, new job descriptions, have your floor watchers make sure that people are social distancing, cleaning after themselves, you know, maybe pay the floor watchers more so that they are cleaning more, things like that.
I love that. It's just really in detail. That was perfect. I'm just going to add on to a little bit. Something I was thinking about is what you brought up, that membership. They make all their money off of basic memberships where people just get access to the facility. That's the big money maker. So are people going to be comfortable going back into these big places? Personally, I'm not going to call out any specific names, but I know a lot of them are dirty. And I hear that left and right, like they haven't been cleaned in 30 years. I know I've talked about this before. So how's that going to affect people? Are they just going to cancel their memberships? Is it going to take a year, 2 years, 3 years to dive back into it? Yeah, go for it. What do you think?
I think, well, the fitness industry has boomed in the past 5-10 years. I mean, I remember when, and I worked at, the main gyms were Gold's Gym, World's Gym, LA Fitness was the new one. And I think it's going to cut the dirty gyms out, basically. You know, it's going to, then smaller studios starting opening up, and those started getting a little busier because they were cleaner, because they gave you those towels, because, you know, they had that person. So I think maybe if those gyms don't make sure they get on their top game, they kind of forgot the importance of cleanliness. And, you know, maybe those are the ones that are going to go out of business. It's going to be a survival of the fittest at this point, I think.
Literally and figuratively. Lewis, you got anything to add, buddy?
Yeah, so what I was going to say is actually, you know, like I just to piggyback on that, what I've seen so far, at least in the news, is that there's a few camps, you know, like to follow if you're like a big box gym. And I think customer service at this point is taking so much room into what people are deciding to do with their memberships, right? So it's becoming more of if they have their gyms, you know, reach out to them before they even, you know, give them a call or, you know, look for their support online. What is going to happen with their membership? I feel like that's assuring a little more retention than the ones that don't. I've also heard about other gyms that I'm not going to name that are having a lot of issues, and their former employees, because they were laid off, are saying, yeah, well, they never really handled their business. You know, they were never really customer service oriented. So if they, at this point, if they don't, I feel like if they don't actually care about their members or their membership, they're going to be the ones that are not going to last this thing. I've seen a couple of gyms reaching out to their member core and telling them, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that you have all the classes that you had before, and we're going to make it already online. It's one of the things that I did with a client that wanted to do online coaching right before the lockdown came in Virginia. So here we had the plan, and a week later, I found out that, you know, like there's going to be a lockdown for the gyms. And I was like, hey, you know, like I'm going to reorient your plan so you do everything with what you have at home. So we're going to, because it was, I felt like it was my responsibility to provide what he could utilize instead of, oh, you know, you're screwed kind of thing. And that is something that I feel like some of the, you know, big gyms are not doing. They're just trying to hold on that membership, you know, and like Lilia was saying, you know, like if you follow the laws in your state, you're going to find that some of those laws are actually going to protect the consumer a lot more. So if you have the right to, you know, get that refund completely, that's great. But I feel that the customers are looking a lot of if their gyms, you know, like worry about them or they care about them in any way. I think that's having a big influence now with the, you know, social media going viral and all that.
Love that. Yeah, just the only other thing to kind of add on to this topic before we move on, but just really quick answer. I'll start because I'm over here in New York for those that don't know. When do you foresee in your state that these gyms get open? And if they do open, what's going to be the new code? So I'll start with New York. We'll probably be the last state open. That's what it's looking like. But Personally, I have a feeling just from rumors I've heard that they might open all gyms under one umbrella, and if there might be a restriction how many people per square foot. So if I just look at big boxes with that, easy to say, I know that's going to hurt their bottom line. So it will be interesting to see how things do happen over here in our state. But let's hear from you two first, because I know your states are already starting to move a little more forward than mine is. So who wants to hop into this one first? All right, go for it.
So I'm in Virginia, and Virginia is influenced a lot by what DC does, and DC is influenced somewhat by what New York does. So actually, as far as I know, they are planning to, this is not official, but I think they're at least looking at some model of opening in the beginning of June or mid-June at the very least. What they're going to do is, like have this super reinforce all this, cleaning protocols and whatnot. And I'm not sure how they're going to do the whole social distancing and what is going to be the existing model up until then. But I think that we probably going to be maybe one of, if we divide the country in like 4 places, we're going to be like maybe not the first ones opening, but maybe like the second, like not super late. Because people want to do that too, and our governor is, as of yesterday, he is slowly allowing other businesses to open. Like dentist appointments are starting today, able to be scheduled, and
Awesome.
elective surgery as well. So I think they're doing it very carefully, but if anything goes out of control, I think they're going to scale back.
I'm just going to hop in because I know we didn't mention it actually. Today is May 1st. So at the point of this recording, we're referring to May 1st. Go for it. What do you got for us?
Well, I'm in Palm Beach County, Florida, so I'm not sure if we're going to be behind New York or in the middle. Our governor has made a couple of points of the fact that people with diabetes or heart issues or unhealthy people are the ones that are getting sicker. It doesn't, everybody's getting it, but they're the people that are not surviving. So he's made a couple of points that he wants to open gyms, from what I've heard, or from what I've heard him in the interviews when people are saying that they don't want gyms. How it's going to be done, I think the smaller studios, if they're allowed to open, I think they're going to be the survivors. Because it's easier to have, you're not going to have your cycle bar with 30 bikes, but you can have a cycle bar with 10, distance. Or you can even put them outside, put the bikes outside. I think utilizing outside is going to be key for those studios to start, and then long-term, separating machine, masks, so forth.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Louis, you got something?
Yeah, I was just going to agree with her. I think that the smaller, the easier to manage. And that's also, when it comes down to small studios, is something that people tend to trust slightly more. Like in my case, as a personal trainer that work independently with people, like I've been working with them for months, so they kind of know what my standards are, instead of, I'm going to trust a whole, a Johnny in the industry, instead of someone that I know that, I've trusted, for like a whole year or something like that. It's a lot easier to manage when you have a smaller space. I feel like those are going to be it's easier to adapt the small studio, and also easier to reinforce every measure and whatnot. That's all.
Yeah, awesome. Let's move on a little bit. So speaking of which, something you mentioned, personal training. That's going to be our next topic. What is the future of personal training? And I'm referring specifically to in-person personal training. So I do want to start with that. We can include PT studios as well, or park training. So who wants to hop on this one?
I'll go.
Go for it.
I'll go. I think that's gonna be easier actually, because the people that can afford it. Again, there's another issue that people aren't making money, so you're not gonna have as many people hiring personal trainers. I think if you do get a client, definitely, at least for the beginning, possibly wearing a mask and gloves is going to be the new normal. And I hate to use that line because it's so overused. The distancing, being as far, the 6 feet apart, which is hard because a lot of times it's a very hands-on job, especially if you're going into corrective exercise. or dealing with, teaching somebody balance, or somebody with a neuromuscular disease. I mean, you are that person that you're there to stabilize and to support them. A lot of times touch fires a muscle, as we know. So keeping that distance up until you have to break it, I think. Again, just coming into a fitness center to getting into a personal training session, they know that they are putting themselves at risk. And maybe that's something that's going to have to be put into a waiver. I know it sounds, not to be sarcastic, but something along the lines that if you step into my facility, you are breathing air that can be contaminated. It's so silly to say.
No,
so
yeah.
I think that's going to be a main thing. And there's ideas. This is a time to throw out ideas. I just was thinking the other day, maybe to minimize, for myself, maybe to minimize people in the gym. Let's say I see Mrs. Smith Monday, Wednesday, Friday, say to her, hey, why don't we do virtual twice a week and then in the gym once a week? Or why don't we do in the gym twice a week and I give you at your house once a week, or I give you a workout, something to minimize people going into the gym. Because if you have 10 busy trainers in a facility, you can't have them all at once. It's not fair to make somebody give up their clients versus the other person. So I think just, charging outside the facility, doing different things. Charging to go for a walk and do a boot camp. You may have to start running if you don't like running, and start running with your client. Drop, give me 10 push-ups, air squats. Just be creative.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be all about being creative. I loved what you said, by the way, referring to how hands-on this profession is. Like, personal training is our bread and butter. And I got to be honest, I'm right up front next to people, especially with that corrective exercises. It's very hard to verbally speak as opposed to physically correct to make sure they're doing something right to not hurt themselves. And a big point I'm going to throw in, this is something I mentioned in a previous podcast, was 86% of people, this is coming out of the state of New York, that are getting hospitalized from COVID have an underlying condition, with the biggest underlying condition, which is at 55% of that 86 being hypertension. And those are real numbers. So it's a risk reward. And how do you see people justifying in their heads that risk versus reward scenario going forward with personal training?
I think a positive right now is that some people are getting healthier. So maybe we'll feed off of that. Everything the future will hold.
Yeah, I kind of hope the same thing. Go for it, Louis.
So, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I'm right, sad to say, but I think I'm going to be right behind that, extra addendum on that waiver form that they have to fill out. Because for people that are listening and don't, or watching, they don't know exactly how hands-on personal training is. One of the hardest things for us is to convey what muscle do we want you as a client to move. And that is super hard to explain if they haven't even done the exercise first. I normally, of course you have to ask permission and all that. I use my pinky just to go here's where your lat is inserting, you have to kind of move from this point to that point, very couple of seconds pointing where it is. But when it comes down to corrective exercise, it's kind of the same thing. But I feel like either it's going to translate into personal trainers realizing that they have a whole lot more value changing of contracts, because one of the things that saves gyms a lot is categorizing the personal trainers as a bunch of part-timers, which means that if you are a part-timer, you don't have as many benefits at all as in a gym, which saves them a lot of money, and you don't have to spend that much into one person. But now, since we're valuable already for the work that we do, but if we're going to become a special kind of service that we put ourselves at risk, and as soon as the gyms open, yeah, that's going to be something that I hope is, it comes as an initiative from the company that's hiring the personal trainers as something to be considered, to give us more benefits, or to give us, some sort of, not specifically like a paid, phrase or anything like that, but more like considerations and understanding that, I don't know if this is May 1st, right? So a lot of personal trainers are getting certified just around in May because, summer comes along and whatnot. So a lot of newbies that have never trained anybody are going to try to learn, and they're going to feel a little, just to say, awkward or, or shy to enforce all these new regulations for, COVID-19. So I think it's going to hopefully translate into more considerations for employment for personal trainers. It's going to be a massive demand, I think, but also there's going to be a lot of people that finally get to work at home with their online personal coaches and realize that they not necessarily for their goals have to be at a gym. So I think there's going to be a surplus of demand, but also, a surplus of quality training in online formats. That's it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think coming off what you said, I think that in a way there is going to be a demand, because if you're also taking somebody that wasn't working out, that has hypertension because of their health patterns and not because of genetics and so forth, you may not have to be as hands-on with them, because ideally you want to get them moving for that 30, 40 minutes, an hour, however long they can sustain. And you want to get them moving more and more and more. So you may be able to get away with less. The corrective has to be in there if you see a movement disorder. However, I think to get them moving, we can do that more either virtually or not hands-on. I don't think that has to be as specific. I think it's more like physical therapy, corrective exercise. Those are more hands-on. But I think for overall health, I think that's a little bit easier to just get somebody moving. I mean, that's where all those boot camps became so famous. And then people were getting injured because people weren't fixing them. But you can tell somebody, to kind of hinge their hips or, move their knee without touching them. I mean, I think we also got used to touching. We started touching too much also. I mean, that's why we had to start saying, I'm going to touch you if it's okay with you, due to the fact that people were feeling like they were being sexually molested. Now, nobody even cares about that anymore, because now you think that you're going to get the coronavirus. But I do think that we just have to get out of our norm as personal trainers and just only touch when we have to. Or maybe just walk around with a stick that's 6 feet long and just poke. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's going to. I think there's going to be some sort of like accommodation at the end, and I mean, we'll see. I mean, it also depends on the areas. I know that for a fact there's some locations that I used to work at that were like the specific demographics were very, very age specific, meaning that there's one specific location that I used to work at that was like maybe 90% seniors. So, like you also have to, like, I guess something is going to come out from that conversation as well from members and gym. But yeah, absolutely. Like like we don't want to, as personal trainers, we don't want to touch anybody, especially if they're like working out and sweating and all that, like as a disclaimer, but in some cases it's going to be necessary. So I guess it's going to be like some consideration that the gyms should at least come up with first and see if that's kind of okay. But I hear you saying, like, in most cases you don't really need to, tell, like touch people specifically. Yeah.
Go for it. What do you got for us? You want to follow up?
Oh yeah, I mean, it just all goes back to being creative. That old monkey see, monkey do. I work with a lot of seniors, and a lot of times if you show them how to do something like a simple thing like a bridge, if their hips dropping, they're not going to get it. If when you touch them, yeah, they get it. But if you don't want to, that it's going to be a learning curve for all of us. You may have to do more of those exercises. When you do corrective, you're mostly watching them. I mean, I know if I see a lot of clients, my neck hurts from looking down at the table for so long. You know what? That may not be an issue, because I may have to be doing those exercises 6 feet apart from them. It's time will tell, I think. which is a good thing. Change is good. You know, there's a reason why this happened.
Change is awesome. I'm laughing in my head a lot. I'm visually thinking like a big box gym with every trainer having a 6-foot pole coming out the side of them and everyone walking around, like trying not to touch it. I'm sorry, it was just a random funny thought I'm thinking about in my head. But yeah, you guys made some really good points. I kind of love the fact how we gotta adapt now as trainers about how to verbally give cues as opposed to physically giving cues, especially when it comes to online training. And that's going to be our next topic. So we're going to transition into virtual training. Obviously, virtual training was a thing years ago. It started coming out with fitness programs. Trainers started pushing themselves online. They have something really weird now called the mirror. It's like I don't understand it. But anyway, that's a thing. You have things like Peloton that are pushing out. But let's talk about how we see the growth of virtual training. Is it going to stick? Why not? And just give me a brief explanation on either side of this. So who wants to dive into this one first? Or I totally can. Go for it, Luz.
So I think, as personal trainers, we understand that it's 90% the work of the client, and it has a lot to do with, getting them ready to make a commitment. So if you guys are trainers of, if you have social media, you're going to have some people just pitching, sales to you guys, let me, help you grow your business and all that. So I think it has a lot to do with, personal training has a lot to do, at least in my case, with, having the person ready for it. So if there's a surplus already of a lot of celebrities and fitness people just offering free workouts on their Instagram or Facebook or whatever else. So I think it's going to be a game of quality in the end, and a game of personal relationship that you have with the client and what is going to win in the end. So right now, companies like Trainerize or anything online. I think yesterday, don't quote me on that, but I think Facebook just announced that you can receive donations through Facebook video. So it's going to be great because a lot of people are just on Facebook just because of fitness and nutrition and stuff. So I think it's going to have a lot to do with you becoming a personal, a personal trainer, but also a friend or someone that you're there. So something that I heard yesterday, I went to a webinar. I saw a webinar with someone from Trainerize, and one of the things that she was saying was they're not only getting your service, they're also getting you. One of the things in personal training is accountability. But if you show that you're there for them, that is going to make a big difference. So it's no longer how much equipment does your gym have, because there's no gym, right? You're working with, my clients work with cans of beans and their baby if they need to add weight. Not. Things like that, which is amazing, but of course you're going to be careful. But people are adapting, and as personal trainers, and especially as corrective exercise, people, we have to adapt to whatever changes they present, regardless of activity levels, regardless of if they just went through surgery, things like that. So I think it's also a big game of adapting to the populations that are right now wanting to get more online coaching, and quality is going to be a major component, because I can just go and find 10 free workouts from my 10 favorite clothing stores, and I already have 10 months of workouts for me. So if we don't increase the quality, at least in my case, I try to make it as tailored as possible to the person. That's how I feel that is how the online coaching presence is going to be weeded out, or raising in quality or stay.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for that. Go for it.
Yeah, I think you said a lot of good points. I think the quality is going to be huge, because again, people are going to want to go out, leave their house. For some people, that's their getaway from their spouse or their routine, seeing some sunlight. There's people are going to go back to fitness centers or do outside stuff. And then again, I know I keep saying this, but it's expensive to hire a personal trainer. So I think also as personal trainers, we need to, and I hate to say this, but maybe even lower the price point of virtual, because A, you're not leaving your house, they're not leaving their house. And they're not getting equipment. Do I personally feel like virtual is a little bit more work? Actually, I'm going to tell you, yes, it's a little more exhausting for me. But I'm not driving to them, all that. So in order for people to afford it, or maybe get them to do it, maybe have it be 15% cheaper or something, and again, these are just ideas. I'm just kind of learning as I go in the past 6 weeks. I do believe that the quality is huge, as you said, because you can just download a generic workout, but what makes somebody stick to you is when you give them a specific workout. Like if you ask them to do 25 squat, like those online videos, and you're like, ooh, that person, needs to do this they need to do a sit to stand before I have them do a squat. Well, you specializing that for them, and then it makes them feel better, as opposed to the video they did. I think that's going to be, huge. Also, people like that connection with their trainer. We're like their nail person, their hair person. They like that connection. And I also think what's important, what I have found is, only just because as a trainer you're online, don't show up with sweaty hair. Don't show up with crappy clothing. Like, just pretend. If your whole house is a mess, make sure that back wall looks nice and tidy. Put your certifications up there. I mean, I don't have my certificate, but just don't make it look like you just rolled out of bed to train them. Don't have your kids running in and out of there. Just make it professional. I know that sounds silly, but they're still, paying for your service. You got to pretend like you're going to work.
Yes, absolutely. Hands down, it's, those little details that we take care of in consideration. Like whenever I used to go to gyms, I will make sure that I wear some sort of like NASM logo somewhere, or, personal training gear or something like that will make me look, like as professional, because people are going to look at that. They're going to see something that says personal trainer. I used to wear this thing that says something like, let me help you stronger or something like that. I'm a personal trainer or something like that. And yeah, if your new office or your new face as a company, because you are a company, if you are a contractor, you're a personal trainer, if you're working independently, regardless, that's going to be your facade. That's going to be what people are concentrate a lot in, in quality, but that stuff that you just mentioned, that's also consistency. Like if people see that a lot and that is happening, I think they're going to stop. I feel like it conveys less doubt when it comes down to, like recommendation. I have a client, and something that I wanted to add too is that the people that I train that are more successful, I will say, with the online format, are the ones that are a little that have made their peace with the resources they have, and how long it takes to get stronger and all that. So even though we have to increase the quality of our programs, and I'm all for lowering the prices, because there's a lot of people not making money a lot anyway. So, like there's no way we can just keep the prices as they are if we're not driving to them, and, we're still trying to have a common ground. I think quality is going to be the defining factor, and small things like, making sure you look professional enough. If you look professional enough if someone takes a screenshot and shares it on LinkedIn, then you're good. If you're ashamed of that screenshot, then, probably you need to clean up a little bit more, look more professional for your audience.
Yeah.
I have to go soon, unfortunately, but just to add on, so I just think that we're just going to have to be creative. Like, let's say you see somebody once a week, but the more successful somebody is, the longer they're going to stick to you anyways. So maybe, you lower your training session 10%, but maybe you videotape that specific training session so that they can do it on their own. Does that or maybe charge full price, I'm sorry, but videotape that session so then they can do it on their own another time. And then when you see them next week, they're stronger. They're more consistent. You know, just, I don't know, little things like that. Because, and it happens with the going to the gym. Somebody comes to you once a week and then they never do it, or they forget, or they do it wrong. You know, so kind of playing with those ideas.
Absolutely. And I know you got to go soon. We've got a couple minutes. So let's hop right into the community questions. We'll dive those down and then we'll see where we're going, because I really want to get these in. There's only a few of them. So first one comes from Linda P. She has 2 questions. We'll just have one of you answer it. Masks on, masks off. What are people going to be doing? And are we moving towards virtual workouts? I know we kind of dived that into a little bit, but either one of you want to give a little follow-up on this?
100% masks on. You want to make them as comfortable as possible, and sanitize your hands. If you're doing it 5 times now, do it 10 times, just to make them. Right now, it's more important to make them feel comfortable than their fitness. I hate to say it, but if they come into your fitness center or outside and they're stressed out, they're not benefiting from your workout, because they're stressing out more than the benefit of the exercise. And the whole point of exercise is to lower stress anyways.
Absolutely. Absolutely can agree with that. So
Then agree.
Yep. Go for it, buddy. Yeah, real quick.
No, say like 100%. We're taking care. We're helping their health. There's no point of like, you know, like neglecting like the biggest part of their health, while just, you know, like making them feel like it's going to be okay to address like a 10%. So yeah, all for it.
Yeah, and to follow up, like Linda, I don't know if we're moving directly towards virtual workouts, but we'll see what happens. The next question comes from James W. He wants to know, what would you personally recommend to be essential home workout equipment for the average person?
2 dumbbells, simple. 2 dumbbells. You can make it light and heavy if you want. Essential. The ex-director of Men's Health, BJ Gador, had a great post about this, which, you know, involved like resistance bands, medicine balls, things like that. But honestly, I did this experiment this is gonna be, next week is the end of my mesocycle, which is like 6-7 weeks. I've only used dumbbells, nothing else. That's all you need, and space to maneuver. That's it.
Space, absolutely. That's what it's going to be all about, is having a personal trainer to teach you how to do things without equipment.
Yeah.
Aha.
I think the bands are key. Even just the TheraBands. If they want to spend the money, a TRX is fantastic. I mean, if you just have a TRX, you're set.
Oh yeah, love TRX.
Yeah, if you want to spend $150, but you'll have that thing forever. I've had mine since they came out, and it's awesome. But I think just the bands.
Yeah, definitely bands. I highly recommend bands myself. We're going to move on to a question from Gina A, who also happens to be my mother. But will there be limits to the amount of clients at one time at a gym? And how about working out with gloves?
Yes and yes.
Yes and
at least for the near future.
I'm going to dive into the glove one just a couple real quick, because I get asked this one a lot. For those that don't know, my girlfriend's a registered nurse, and we talk about this. Gloves generally don't work because most people cross-contaminate. They don't know how to use them properly. So let's use a really quick example. Let's say you're wearing gloves. You're sick, or you may not know you have it. Then you go on and you touch things, right? You're touching something at the grocery store. Let's say you're not sick. You're touching the cereal. And then you put the cereal back or put it in your shopping cart. And then you go ahead and you touch your phone because someone calls you. And then you put your phone back. And then later that day, your gloves aren't on. Now you're touching your phone and you're texting. Then you're touching your face. Guess what? You just got it. So it's important to note that cross-contaminating is a big thing. Most people don't use gloves properly. I personally don't think, as long as a studio like ourselves sanitizes everything after everyone touches it anyway, and we constantly Purell our hands, that maybe they're not essential. You want to follow up on that?
I'm with you. And my gym took considerations for having visible, like, I wouldn't call them annoying, but like, constant crews of cleaning, just going to every floor, just, sanitizing everything, like constantly. I would say hi to the guy like 5 times in 1 hour. But I think it's going to come from, like, a lot of people don't. I'm all for people doing it too much, cleaning too much, but some of the people just didn't really know how to use protective equipment, and that's going to be both an education problem, education, something to address from the gym, and also, from their own. I mean, they're going to have to bring some sort of their own gloves and whatnot. But yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do have to go, but one last thing on that. I took the whole wearing the gloves thing. I absolutely agree. However, people mentally feel safer wearing those gloves. So I think just for that at least in the near future, for that to just calm their nerves, to have people wear gloves. And that's where you put signs around the gym, how to properly use gloves. Maybe as a trainer, you teach your clients. It's not really what you get in your hands. It's actually touching your mouth, ears, and nose after. And maybe having, instead of workout videos or having the newest pop star video up on the screen, tips on how not to touch your face, basically, which I think that's what the mask is fantastic for, because, you can't. But I really do have to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick before you head out, can you send me your email and stuff, and people have any questions, they can reach out to you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
coming
guys.
on.
It was great.
Appreciate it. Lewis, buddy, we'll keep you on, and we'll kind of dive into the couple of the questions we have, all right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so I got a question from Wilson R. Basically what he's saying is, this question should be, will all the big corporations see lack of memberships and sales that are on a decline, and the rise of more smaller studios and more people staying home to continue their fitness and health? I guess what he's trying to say is he sees more people going towards smaller studios as opposed to big box gyms. Do we agree with this, and why?
It's going to have a lot to do with more data, depending on the area and depending on the population, and I think it has to do a lot with there's always already a population that reacts better or gets better results, for say that way, with online training before even COVID-19 was a thing. There's people that want to try because there's nothing else they can do, and probably they don't like it and they prefer to stay at home for 3 more months without activity. So I think it's going to depend on, like, the cluster and the interest in the area. If I were to go into not really walk there, but like virtually go to the state of Washington, D.C., I feel like it's going to be a whole lot more people wanting to sign up for online training. If you go maybe in the southern part of Virginia, probably people are going to want to do more maybe small, medium gyms, like you're going to see a little more sales. But it really depends on the demographics. I do know that a big name in the gym industry was closing down so many locations across the country. So yeah, it really depends. I think it's going to, like a lot of people have been saying in the industry lately, it's going to have to do, and Lilia was saying too, how creative you are and how much you're adapting to the whole scenario, or whatever scenario you're serving. So yeah, it's going to be a give or take.
Yeah, I agree with you. And a lot, it's kind of saying it's based on the demographics of where people are coming from. And personally speaking, from what I've noticed to talking to people, is I know another person, Sarah D, mentioned a question, small versus big box seems to be the big question, but I see people gravitating towards smaller gyms. That cleanliness factor to me is going to make or break studios. And I don't know if big boxes, one, can financially afford keeping their gyms clean, or two, even have like the resources to do it. Because you have 100 people in there per like hour, and that's an underestimate at some cases, touching everything. How do you control keeping these people apart? How do you control what they're touching, sneezing on? They have saunas, pools, everything you can imagine. There was a gym that closed down before even any of this happened from Legionnaire's disease. Like, that's something we haven't had in a long time, and now you have that in a big gym. So how are they gonna be able to keep their bottom line going? Or
yeah,
like, well, what's going to happen? Maybe it'll be generational, which I've heard from a lot of people. The younger generation might not care as much as Corona, which we've seen anyway. They might fluctuate to the big gyms, whereas the older generation might never go again.
Yeah, and let's see, for example, I do remember that there was a group of people that reached out to me as soon as the lockdowns went in, because they were talking to me previously about, me going to their places and train them at home. Because, I couldn't. I told them, why don't we do online stuff? And they were like, yeah, no, that's not my thing. It's, I'm just going to, write it out. I'm just going to write it out until 3 more months until they open again or whatever. So yeah, I actually think it's going to have to do a lot with byproduct. You know what I mean? So gym owners, and again, when you're smaller, you're a lot more adaptable. You can move a little more free in this environment. My company's made of one person, myself. So I can go talk to, I had a company that is coming with the new software for training contact me yesterday, and I was like, hey, maybe we can work something out, something like that. It's a lot more flexible in my case. But my point is that there's things that we can do as personal trainers or as small businesses, and that has to do with byproducts, meaning gym clothing. One of my friends was asking me about that yesterday, trying to do a side gig for her business just as gym clothing, just to represent the brand, that kind of stuff. So if one of the reasons why I think medium to small gyms are going to be on the winning side at some point is because they are adapting a lot more, and they're coming with byproducts or side gigs or any kind of additional revenue, and that's what is going to keep them afloat. What the problem is with big companies is that they also try to save the most money. And one of the ways to do it is to keep personal trainers as not a full-time employee. That way you don't have to spend a lot on benefits and all that. So yeah, I think that it's going to have to, and I can promise you right now that there's going to be an angle that nobody thought of seeing. There's no an angle that the whatever industry, the plastic producing industry, something like that, something weird. And we're going to have to tackle that too. So yeah, it's really going to depend. I do feel like the small to medium businesses in the industry are going to have a faster chance to recover.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned with the flexibility of it. That's definitely what's going to come down to, is how quickly a studio or gym can adapt. And that's going to be the biggest thing. Like, I know it's easy for us. We're a small studio. I've changed policies overnight.
Exactly.
Big corporations, difficult.
How big is your studio? I mean, how big is it? Is it 1 floor, 2 floors?
It's 2,000 square feet.
Oh, okay. So here's the thing. If you had to put in order for something, you can just do it in the next 10 minutes. Boom, you're done. Yeah. So you don't have to ask anybody else. It's a lot, you move a lot quicker, a lot faster. You can just, move that stuff a lot quicker. So I think adaptability, flexibility, not going through all these hoops that normal big box gyms are making you go through. Oh yeah, but we said that your membership was only being able to be canceled if you read this little tiny line on addendum 3 kind of thing. I think that people, besides improving the quality of personal trainers, I think people are going to gravitate towards who they trust the most. This is a whole health scenario that we're sharing now. So if they trust your personal trainer to be professional in not only that, clean and follow all these policies because they care about you more than they care about anything else or making money for the gym, I think that's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, definitely, man. I definitely agree with them. Pretty much every point you brought up on that one. Let's move on to another question from Lydia F. She has 2 questions, so we'll just ask the first one. How's this going to impact personal training? I know we really broke down into it earlier. I want to throw in some input because I didn't get to on the flip side, but I see personal training not going away, as opposed to, as myself, I know virtual training is going to be up and coming, but there's something to be said, which is, I know what we mentioned before, to meet someone in person. That in-person connection that you can't get via screen, via online studios, is going to make the world of difference. And I see actually us as a studio, because we are a small box place, improving on this. So now we could take personal training to the next level, really focus on it. Yes, we're going to have to adapt. We're going to have to learn how to train people with masks. We're going to have to learn how to keep things cleaner. We're going to have to learn how to not touch as much and use more verbal cues. But I can tell you right off the bat, I've had so many clients reach out to me personally and say, hey, I'm not doing virtual training. I'll never do it. I can't work out in my house. I don't have the motivation for it. Yeah. But I'm going to come see you, and that's never going to go away. And the second bands are lifted, I'm coming in.
And that is something that, here's the thing, is something I was hearing in a different interview a week ago. Right now, it's not, I mean, sure, there's going to be, you know, like a lot of financial recovery process to go through. But right now, when everything, you know, remains open or starts getting open, people are going to look at what we did during this time. You know where that's documented? That's going to be documented through our social media accounts, through our referrals, through our previous clients, what they were with the, how, one of my clients, I'm so proud of her because she's able to tackle her training more than her nutrition. And that's a huge win because she lost like 20 pounds after baby number 2, which is amazing. And she's still able to, you know, get the work in. So I feel like if we concentrate on keep working and just keep helping people, whatever we do, I think that's going to be something that I agree with you. Personal training, in-person personal training is going to, although there's a learning curve for all of us, it's going to be on the rise as well because it's whatever you like it. Sometimes it's a need, a necessity, but you know, in most cases, I think it's a service, is a privilege to, you know, like something that you take care of your body and your mind and all that and your health. You want to get a personal trainer. Something that my friend was telling me is like, you know what I miss a lot? Places. Just places, man. just being able to go to a place, you know, how great is that? So yeah, of course, we're going to need that contact that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Her next question is something we didn't get to talk about. So this is a perfect opportunity to bring it up. Classes. So what I want to break that question down into is how is this going to affect studios that are just classes? A great example would be spin studios, bar studios, Pilates studios. And how is this going to affect your big box gyms and small studios? Let's say your big box gyms have 30 something people in a Zumba class and your small studios have somewhere of like 5 to 6 people in a class. What's going to happen with small group training and classes?
I actually got to give a classes right before the gyms closed, and they were enforcing social distancing. So if the room is big enough, they're going to just recalibrate the maximum, you know, like max occupancy of the rooms first off, and it depends on that. Again, I think it's going to depend a lot on the demographics. If you have a lot of people wanting to, I remember we're talking to with you remember Keith from the group.
Yeah.
He like runners, right? So yeah, if that's something that you want to do, I have a lot of clients that don't like taking classes. I haven't taken a class in a while, but I feel like it's going to again boil down to how connected you are with your population. How much flexibility can you offer? You know, like the youth, we always have the one specific particular person with particular interests to go like, hey, you know, is it okay if I, you know, like I'm in the corner, or can I bring this? Can I do that? You know, I can't do this. I have surgery or whatever. So I think if communication is taken in consideration the most between small to medium gyms and yoga studios, I think they're going to be better than okay. They're going to be like, you know, like making a lot more sales.
See, I see the flip side. So I believe that if you look at a bar studio, you look at a yoga studio, right? They get 30 to 35 people. You're within 6 to 7 inches of somebody in a class. This is what everything was beforehand. But they're so limited. Like that's their bread and butter it's how many people I can get into a class to hold my bottom line. So 2 things are going to have to come out of this. One, they're going to have to raise their prices because now if you can only have 15 people instead of 30, that means you've got to charge double the price to get someone down to your place. That is going to impact how people feel about classes because most people take it because they want something cheaper. and they want that group priority. So maybe you're going to see is more private sessions, which are just going to get more expensive because of the time. And I really feel like classes are going to take the longer to recover, especially in big gyms where I've seen Zumba classes, no joke, you're like this next to everybody. You have to learn to enforce that. You can't keep people locked in a little room with the heat and AC usually isn't even on, depending on the season, and you're sweating, walking back and forth. I don't see how they're going to be able to do this, especially in the beginning. I don't see it.
Yeah, and keep in mind that there's also a lot of, not a lot of, but like whenever I've gone to a Pilates or yoga class, there's a lot of cueing too. So verbal cueing can go so far when it comes down to yoga because there's a lot of stretching. So they have to tell you where your flexing point is. I agree with you, but I think the key word here is how long. Like they're gonna take longer, yes, of course, because as they get used to raising prices or making it more exclusive, or maybe shortening the pack or expanding the package or creating more side benefits with their membership, right? So they justify the price a little more, so they sweeten the pot a little more, right? They're going to have to wait longer for online coaching to go back to its previous standard or to a different standard and like attention, I guess. In-person training to go back to where we used to be. So they're going to take, definitely, I feel they're going to take longer and they're going to take, they're going to have to take an additional route, meaning, again, side revenue, side gigs, buy products, selling clothes, anything like that has to do with the industry, or just align or ally with what I've seen also is, as personal training, sometimes we ally with the cluster in the community, meaning that, oh, you're the town's chiropractor, or you're the town's registered dietitian, so you're going to have to reach out more, and it's going to be harder, most definitely. But also, if they're more creative, I think they're going to polish their business a lot better.
I agree. It's going to be pushing your quality, and something I'm going to preach, because I really feel bad for these studios that are all classes. Like I have close friends that are owners of studios like this. And like you kind of brought up before, Facebook announced yesterday that you can now charge for Facebook Live videos, meaning you can have someone sign up, pay you in order to access a Facebook Live feed. And now you have the opportunity to reach out to a bigger community and maybe offer something where, you know what, you get 4 Facebook Live sessions and 1 in-person class that's capped at 5 people. You really, or push those classes online and make it cheaper if you do it on Facebook Live. That way you're still doing the in-person, you still have a group, now you have revenue outside. It's gonna be about adapting. If you don't adapt to this for those kind of studios, you're gonna hurt. So I really, really hope you guys are listening to us and just take that understanding. You gotta push online. If you don't push online as a class studio, you're gonna hurt.
Yeah, it is, and that's the case. And maybe we can say this different, this as an additional topic next time. But the fact that we already know that there's a problem in the industry, there's many problems, but one of them is that people that are not certified or have worked out or they have gone to a bodybuilding show, probably, they consider themselves experts or weight loss experts or things like that. They haven't gone through their education or anything like that. And the problem is, in a way, it's actually kind of sort of good because it makes us improve our quality tenfold. It's not going to be, like Anthony is giving the same thing as Louis, and Lilia and whatnot. Like, I think that the quality has to increase a whole lot more. But a lot of people are going to, if they're getting, I have friends, sadly, that are following all these people that are, like selling online programs and whatnot. They're the ones adapting and whatnot, but none of them are certified, or they don't have the proper education to prevent injuries or anything like that. And I think it's kind of hurting the industry in that way by creating that surplus and decreasing the demand of quality because there's so much quantity at this point. So I feel like, man, I have a friend that is just getting certified to be a Pilates instructor and technically she already got 2 jobs, but she can go to work because she's not able to, do that. It's not open. So yeah, I'm with you. You have to adapt to an online platform as soon as you can. You will figure it out, but you have to just like jump that.
You got to definitely jump in. We're going to dive into the last part of this is how is COVID going to change people's mindset of health and fitness? When will there be that change? And when do you think the end will finally come to where people get back to a normal day-to-day schedule?
Wow, that's a loaded one.
It's a loaded one.
It's pretty much saying like, when are we going back to normal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going back to normal. There's going to be a lot, and you have a small studio. You've been doing this for a while, so you know how much behavioral science is tied up with our work. It's a lot more creating habit than preparing every single client to go to a bodybuilding show and win.
Yeah.
It's about creating small changes and whatnot. And there's things like that right now. There's going to be people that are going to frantically, like this, like wash their hands. Like they're going to, and if you don't wash your hands, if they think that you're not in the same vibe as them and cleanliness and whatnot, it's going to just change a lot in the industry. But I think we're going to, as I said before, I think gyms may be starting to open with a lot of caution, maybe hopefully in a couple of months. Keeping in mind that smaller gyms probably hopefully get to it sooner because they're a little easier to contain, easier to manage. But overall, that since the beginning I said that I am looking at probably between August and December. Like when people are going to finally gathering, a group of more than 10 people and go like, hey, things are okay. I can go to the store and be back and it's going to be fine. So I think there's a lot. It's not about COVID-19 at this point. It's about all the things that are being created right now, all the measures that are being created, all the, not only the financial aspect, but, like the behavioral aspect, the cultural impact, how behaviors are changing depending on your demographic and your interest. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell, but probably, especially if it's gonna, if it's gonna be a repeated cycle and whatnot, hopefully as soon as we get a vaccine, it's at least, maybe we're gonna not miss this maybe in a couple of years. I'll say that.
So I want to chime in here. Yeah. So the first question was how is people's going to change people's mindset of health and fitness. And I did a whole episode on it, but I'm sure you agree with me 100% on this. If the stats are showing 86% of people that are suffering from this have an underlying condition, with those underlying conditions being preventable, I really hope this is a wake-up call, America. I hope people say, hey, look, listen, my friend died from this, but they had years of abuse to their body where they were immobile for 5-6 years. They had type 2 diabetes. They had hypertension. Like, we need to wake up as a country. I really hope that our governors and our president see this. We are a necessity to our society. Yes. Anyone in the health and fitness field is an absolute necessity. We need to be taken care of so we can help other people. We do not do our jobs for money. I can guarantee you, the people I talk to, like yourself, that I've gotten to know, this is not about the money. We do this to change people's lives. We want to see and make everyone happier, healthier, and our governors and state, we need to realize this and help our studios and help our trainers and push out programs to make people start getting healthier. Because let's say it's not COVID, let's say it's another disease. You know what? You're more likely to die from another disease if you're unhealthy. Wake up.
No, I absolutely agree with that. It's something that we can prevent, and we are, I think you'll agree with me. I don't think there's anything that you can compare with the feeling of having a client surpass a milestone, because that they've been struggling enough for maybe a month or 2 months. It's been like a decade of not being able to get to a point where they are right now. And that feeling is probably the biggest reward, not the paycheck. I mean, I remember telling every single client that signed up with me that I wanted them to fire me at some point because they felt like they didn't need me. And I told them, if at some point you feel like my water bill is more important than your health, yeah, then that's the point where, you know, like I am a bad trainer, you know. I don't think I ever be at that point, hopefully. Sure, we have to, you know, I have to pay I have to pay all my bills, but our interest, this is where we get into this, is because we want to help people. I mean, I'm right now, last month I did a giveaway of literally a whole month of online coaching, personal training, give it away, told my friends, told everyone, you know. But people still don't consider, oh yeah, that's I even made a poll on Nextdoor one time, and they're like, most of the results were like, I know it's kind of important, but I'm okay. Like, I'm okay without even thinking about it. So you're right. There's a lot of things that we could have prevented, and if people were to be healthier. And I think we're an essential part of that change. So yeah, hopefully it brings a lot more awareness to people that can listen.
I absolutely agree with that, man. It does bring a lot more awareness and does wake people up on that. And yeah, I really hope this is the time to change. I can't even say it enough.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, I think this, I mean, I'm not trying to say that, you know, it's a good thing in any way, but this is, you know, is this exposing the gaps that we have in so many sectors. And hopefully the people that, you know, can make some, you know, relevant change. We as a community, I mean, we already are reaching out to each other, trying to make content, trying to share important information. Like on Monday, I had a talk with a friend of mine in Italy. He's a sports psychologist, and because we both speak Spanish, I was like, okay, we'll just do it in Spanish, you know. So we ended up making the content in Spanish, and we talked about behavior a lot, because that's something that we have to do. You know, it's the reason why we got into this. So yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be all about behavior change. And I just hope that people start listening to this, start pitching the online training right now. And then when we start opening our doors, you got to trust your trainer. Like we've said, that we're going to keep the place clean. We're going to be here for you. And we want to help save your life. We're not doing this. I don't want to get my doors open to make myself money. Yeah, that'd be great. But I'd much rather help you. I know this is going to help prevent you from dying from this disease or any other disease that may happen. So we got to get open. We're going to need help from the state and from the country, but I really hope this is a wake-up call. When the end comes, we just got to be there.
That is true. That is absolutely true. And, you know, and there's something to add. I don't think I know a good personal trainer or wellness professional, you know, RD and whatnot, that would not want to help. Even if you don't have any money, like one of my clients just told me, well, you know what? I'm not making any more hours, so I can't really pay you. I was like, we'll just do it for free for next month. So technically I'm losing money, but not really, because in the end it becomes one of the things that we choose to do as fitness professionals. I think there's plenty of people have reached out, and if you reach out to a good personal trainer, there's not going to be anybody that goes like, oh, but I need to get paid first. You know, unless it's in a very exceptional case, most people are going to go like, oh, I can draw something for you. And the mesocyclist just repeat this every, you know, couple of days. So yeah, reach out, you know.
How can they find you?
Yeah, I mean, how they can find me? They can find me on Instagram at Building Roots Strength. You can also find me on Facebook with the same handle, you know, facebook.com/Building Roots Strength. I'm trying to keep the same thing with the same handle. Or you can go on my website with buildingrootsstrength.com. And you can DM me, PM me, whatever you need to talk to me. I'm all open for that. Yeah, that's something I want to create awareness. I want to create content, but also, you know, I just want to help as many people as I can. I think that's because otherwise I feel like I'm wasting my time at home. And so, yeah. How about you, man? What is your handle on Instagram?
So people can find me on Instagram, Anthony Amen Fitness. You can also find my studio, Redefine Fitness Mount Sinai. We are on Facebook, Instagram. My email is always available to people, anthonyamenfitness@gmail.com. You can check if you have my podcast, obviously. Like Lewis, like Lilia, we are here to help you guys. Please don't be afraid to reach out. Hey, look, listen, put that fear aside. And even if you're not making any money right now, you just have a question, comment, whatever it may do, we're here to help you. You have all these resources to help you move to that next step. We want to help. Don't feel like you're a burden. Reach out. We're going to wrap this thing up. So thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. Thanks so much, Louis, for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.